Welcome back to Factory Sealed. It is February 17th, 2013. I'm Eric Peterson. Joining me today is Jess Clarkson.
Yay!
Unfortunately, we're down a man. We're going to see how this show goes. Aron is doing something. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing. Do you know?
No, I was not kept in the loop for this. It's too cool for us, apparently.
He just sent me a message like, I'm going to be out this week. Oh, I remember what it was. Last week was Valentine's week. So
Week? You celebrate an entire week of Valentine's Day?
Well, yeah, you don't actually celebrate Valentine's Day on Valentine's Day, do you?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, usually.
Why? It's so busy.
We hardly ever go out for dinner, though.
Okay.
Because of all of my dietary restrictions.
You don't want to cause that much of a strain on the wait staff and the cooking staff?
Oh, I always have to, if we go out for a restaurant, I usually go online and look at their online menu before and their, nutritional information. It's just a mess.
What type of dietary restrictions do you have? What do you have to do at the restaurant that is different?
I'm gluten intolerant, so no wheat or gluten. So,
okay.
No beer for me either. But flour's in everything. I cut down on soy. I don't have dairy, so no cheese, no milk, no.
Is the list of foods you can eat shorter?
Fruits, vegetables, chicken.
You can eat chicken, okay.
Yes.
What about beef?
No beef.
Why?
Because it raises your prostaglandin levels. I'm going to not say that right. But it makes you have more inflammation, which makes my endometriosis worse.
That does sound like a headache at a restaurant.
Oh, it totally is. My friends hate going out with me.
Could you just carry a card with you that you could give to the waiter and say, "This is me. Make sure none of this is in what you give me"?
Yeah, usually my go-to will be a grilled chicken salad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but the thing is that a lot of those places that say they're gluten-free really aren't gluten-free, because to be truly gluten-free, like Domino's Pizza here, says they have gluten-free pizza, but they cook it in all the same areas and using the same materials that they cook the regular pizzas. So it's still just cross-contamination.
If I have if it was that wouldn't bother me. I know my one aunt, well, my great aunt, she has it bad and she can't even use the same toaster.
Really?
Yeah, or else she'll be really, really sick.
What if somebody had a bag of flour open in the room and spilled it and it's all over the room? Would that bother you?
I don't think so. I think it's more ingestion.
So what if somebody antiqued you? Do you know what antiquing is?
Yeah, I think I would be, I don't know. I don't want it to happen. Find out. My one friend tells me that he's going to bring a silo full of wheat on me if I piss him off. So
you better not piss him off, because I think a silo of wheat might kill you.
I know, it's my kryptonite.
So you guys didn't actually go out on Valentine's Day?
No, we had dinner at home.
Oh, okay. I think Aron said that his wife wanted to go out with him, and that kind of threw a wrench in things. And then you were busy Wednesday, and I was just sitting around twiddling my thumbs, just waiting to record a show.
Well, good thing that's what you were twiddling was your thumbs on Wednesday, because if not, that'd be a little too much information there. But
so yeah, he just sent me a message. He is taking his daughter to a movie today. So
that's cute.
Yeah, he's game for a show on Wednesday, so it's not going to be too much of a gap between next show. So we'll have to pick something short. Did you guys do anything special for Valentine's Day besides a very, very dietary restricted dinner at home?
That's pretty much it. I think we watched Parks and Rec.
Because you tweeted out a picture of something that said
we
yum,
had strawberries.
And it looked like it either belonged next to a very sensual bathtub with a bunch of oils and candles, or in some sort of S&M sex dungeon.
It was strawberries and chocolate.
I know, but the surrounding area, it looked very ominous.
No, it was really bad lighting. But I had wine and strawberries and chocolate. And
Okay.
it was funny because my mother-in-law dropped off the strawberries and chocolate for us for Valentine's Day. So I didn't even have to like really do anything. It was pretty good.
Wow.
I know, I lucked out.
Yeah, Valentine's Day is definitely the day for the girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
I surprised. Actually, I did do something on Valentine's Day. Christy and I don't generally celebrate on Valentine's Day just because I don't like really big crowds and I get really impatient at restaurants and it's just it's too busy. So instead, I took her lunch to school. She's a third grade teacher and showed up at school with lunch for her. And then one of our listeners tweeted a Valentine's Day card at me. And it was a Dark Souls card. And it said, it had a picture of the character sitting next to the bonfire. And it said, Valentine, you kindle the flames of my heart. So I printed that off and bought her a potted plant and put it on her desk for her.
That's very cute.
So, of course, if you're a video game person, I say if you're trying to decide if a girl is for you, give her a video game Valentine and gauge her reaction. If she enjoys it, then she's probably a keeper.
That's cute. Did you so you surprised her at work?
She knew I was coming. I was like, I'm just going to swing by for your lunch break. She didn't know I was bringing her lunch or anything or any gifts. So,
Aww.
yeah, there's a smidgen of romance in me every once in a while. But then yesterday we usually celebrate Valentine's Day a couple days after, and we went and saw. I told her that I'd go to whatever movie she wanted, and she picked, of course, Safe Haven, which I wasn't too thrilled about. But
What is that movie?
it's the newest Nicholas Sparks movie. And to be honest, it really wasn't that bad. I've seen some of the other ones. It's like, this is kind of dumb. But Safe Haven was decent. I'm not going to say it was awesome. It was not terrible. And then went out for dinner. Or late lunch, early dinner, somewhere in there. So that was our Valentine's Day. And then I came home and played a buttload of video games.
Did you go to like a matinee too?
We did, and surprisingly, I walked into it and I told Christy that this is the first movie that we've been to in a while down here because I've kind of boycotted movie theaters down here simply because I don't know if this is a regional thing, but people down here, I think, have less respect for other people than in different parts of the nation, and every single movie I have gone to since I've moved down here has been ruined for me by children.
My friend was telling me that he went to see Django Unchained,
Mm-hmm.
and there was like a 10-year-old watching it with her parents. That's crazy.
That's stupid. Like down here, to give you an idea, we went to the midnight showing of The Dark Knight Rises. There were people wheeling their toddlers in their strollers, newborns, at a midnight showing. There
Oh my God.
8-year-olds everywhere, and it just completely ruined the movie. Same thing happened at Total Recall. We went to that. There's a family behind us with an 8-year-old who was just talking and up and dancing around and making noise. And even after people turn around and be like, shut your kid up, you're ruining the movie for us, they didn't do anything about it. So I told Christy that my tolerance level for that is really low. So if there were kids or people talking during this movie, I was probably going to lose it. And thankfully there weren't. But there was something equally as bad. I forgot that I'm going to a chick flick on Valentine's Day weekend, and the theater was filled with women. And
Yep.
when women get together, they talk. And there's nothing that bothers me more than people who commentate during movies.
I'm bad at that.
I mean, I can understand, like, if you just lean over and whisper it in your friend's ear, but, like, these women were just making full-on, top-of-their-voice comments to each other, just sitting right next to each other.
I hate that. And I hate when people, like, cheer in the movie. I really hate that.
So my sister, it brings me, that's kind of funny, my sister sent me a message one time. She used to live up in Minneapolis, and she went to a movie theater that its location was in a less than reputable area. It was kind of in the heart of the ghetto. And she called me just in tears laughing because she said it was the funniest thing she ever went and saw. She went and saw a horror movie there. And you know how stereotypical movie theater filled with black people, how they're yelling and screaming at the movie theater and like, oh, hell no, don't go that way. She said that's exactly what it was like, and it was the funniest thing that she had ever seen.
That's hilarious. I get bad though. I'll like tell Andrew. Like I remember we saw Harry Potter and I was giving him the backstory of every character. He's like, "Shut up! Just like let me experience this for myself." Harry Potter is not that intricate that I can't figure it out myself. So funny. I'm bad at that. Or I cry in movies too.
Oh,
I don't know if I've told you how much of a baby I am when it comes to watching certain movies.
Christy's the same way.
Oh my God, we saw, what was the one where it was horrible? With Clint Eastwood, the one that he just did.
Gran Torino?
Gran Torino.
You
Bawled
cried
my
in Gran
eyes.
Torino?
Hysterical crying.
Why?
Like,
oh, when he, at the end, when he dies?
at the end, yeah. Because he was such a nice man and he was protecting his neighbors. And I was just like, waterworks. And I'm not a pretty crier at all. Like, you know how you see in the movies those girls that can compose themselves and cry and they're really pretty when they cry?
Mm-hmm.
I'm snotty. I'm like choking. I'm horribly ugly when I cry. So in the theater, I'm like sobbing, like, like hiccuping, crying.
It's not just a couple tears rolling down. It's just full, it's like every family member died, and you found out you're the last person on Earth.
Yeah, pretty much. And so people were turning around to look at me because I was crying so much.
That's
and
funny.
Andrew's killing himself laughing at me. So he's laughing, I'm crying. It's just like we've ruined the movie for everyone. So whoever's ever in that theater, I apologize.
That's funny. And this was at Gran Torino?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jesus. Christy will start crying at commercials.
Oh yeah.
No thanks. Not for me.
I am definitely in touch with that, my emotional side.
Do you cry when you play video games?
Sometimes.
Like what?
Well, even with that Hamlet thing, I almost cried. I had like, my eyes were welling up. I was
Oh,
really
yeah?
upset.
Yeah, I suppose. He's a pretty powerful character from Illusion of Gaia.
Yeah.
I think one of the only times that a game has moved me to almost tears was and this is going to sound really stupid and cliche because a lot of people are probably going to say the same thing, but back when I experienced Final Fantasy VII for the first time with Ares, because I know that Ares was kind of a throwaway character, but she wasn't really that integral to a lot of things, but for some reason, I thought that she was one of my favorite characters in the whole series. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to play with her till the end of the game. And I spent all this time getting her up to a level 100, but like halfway through the game when she dies. And spoilers for anybody who doesn't know already, she dies.
Spoiler.
Yeah, get over it. And then she died, and I lost everything that I had done for her. I'm like, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So
and they do a really good job of developing those characters too. So like, that's what you get sad about.
Yeah, I haven't had any recent games that have done that to me lately, but
Red Dead Redemption.
I wanted to cry because that game was so bad.
Shut up! At the end, I was so sad.
No, I can't even make
He
it past the
sacrificed
first.
himself.
Can't even make it past. Oh, thanks for ruining it.
That doesn't really spoil a lot of things. You don't know who I'm talking about. Could be the horse.
Well, there aren't any horses left in my game, so.
When we play, my horse sacrifices itself to protect me from you. So there you go.
Oh, geez. So, I'm having a rough day trying to remember things. I need to get this under wraps because I start my new job on Tuesday.
Oh yeah, exciting.
Finally back to the working world. It's been a long time. I am in no capacity for the first time in almost 8 years. First time in almost 8 years I will not be doing any sort of teaching whatsoever.
Crazy.
Yeah, talk about a life shift. So, we'll see how that goes. But anyway, we played the rest of Zelda, didn't we?
Oh, but I have a funny story before we start because Aaron's not here to share his injury stories.
Oh, so you have an injury story?
I have an injury story. So I went to visit my friends yesterday, and I was like walking out of the gas station. We had snow, but it was like kind of wet snow, so it's the slippery stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm walking back to my car, and I have like bagged chips that I bought from the store. And as soon as I round my car, like go around it, I slipped because I was wearing my stupid Uggs that have like no traction on them.
Are they all gross and like have the salt rings on them and like?
No, I've taken care of them.
Okay.
They do not have salt stains on them. But I wore them and I slipped and I like tried to like flail and grab the car as I'm falling. Completely fell on my ass. And there were people in their cars looking at me and no one was like, "Are you okay?" Like, and then I like almost did a slip and fell when I was trying to get back up. It was horrible.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't miss the snow for that exact reason. Did your chips survive though?
Yeah, my chips survived.
Okay.
I have a bruised knee though, but
now when you say chips, do you mean potato chips or do you mean like French fries?
potato chips.
Okay. You guys haven't adopted that crazy colloquialism from Britain.
If it depends. If I'm having like fish and chips, like I call them chips. Or if they're like not like restaurant French fries, like they're like fresh cut potatoes, sometimes we'll say they're chips. But like I know in Britain their crisps are potato chips.
Yeah. People are crazy over there.
Mm-hmm. But we got so much snow. We had a huge storm.
I saw you guys got pounded up there again.
Yeah, I couldn't even find my driveway. It was completely covered.
If it's any consolation, it got down to just above freezing here a few nights ago, and the tips of my palm tree fronds got a little brown.
Muffin.
Yeah. Didn't do anything for you?
No.
Oh.
Jackass.
I had to actually put pants on to go outside. It was a bit chilly.
Oh my God.
So, all right. So, I have been pestering you endlessly for the past week and a half.
I know, I was going to block you.
Good. Let's just get this question out of the way because you know it's coming. Did you finish Zelda?
Yes, I did.
Thank God.
This morning.
Thank God.
I was like, God damn it, I have to wake up early so I can get this shit done. I'm going to get in trouble.
Okay, so we talked about it a little bit last show, but I feel like we didn't really talk about it as much as we should have because
we focused on Little Mermaid.
We did. We spent a lion's share of the time on Little Mermaid. This particular Zelda game holds a very special place in my heart. And as I was playing through it again, I started to remember why I enjoyed it so much. And you were kind of hitting on some of the main ideas as to why you like it too. You haven't played the Super Nintendo Zelda, have you?
What one was that?
The Link to the Past.
I played a bit of it.
Okay. And then, so which ones have you played?
So I played a bit of Link to the Past. The only one I've ever fully beaten before was Ocarina of Time.
Okay.
But I played some Majora's Mask. I played some of the newer one too.
Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword?
Skyward Sword.
Okay, so you never played Twilight Princess or anything?
No.
Okay. So, but you picked up on the fact that this game, or that Zelda is almost always about Princess Zelda being captured, and then you have to save the land of Hyrule from Ganon and his evil powers and rescue the princess.
Yes.
But this game is nothing like that. It is a complete deviation from the typical Zelda norm.
Yeah, which was really cool.
It's just kind of recap. I know we explained it last time. It's your Link on the ship at the beginning of the game. The ship crashes and you wake up on Koholint or Koholint. How did you imagine pronouncing that?
I didn't. I just visualized the words.
It starts with a K, ends with a T. Let's call it Hawaii. Okay.
Okay.
So you wake up in Hawaii, and this girl Marin. Is it Marin or Taryn? Which one's the girl? Okay, Marin finds you, takes you back to her father's house, who is Taryn, and he gives you a shield, and it has your name on it, and you set off on this adventure to awaken the wind fish, and the wind fish is asleep on this egg in this egg up on the top of the mountain. And for about the first half of the game, you really don't understand why do I have to wake up this windfish? What's the big deal?
Yeah, you just get told you have to, like, in order to leave the island, this is what you have to do. So you're kind of like, oh, okay.
I guess I'll just do that, and it's your typical. The way the game plays out is your typical Zelda game. You've got your 8 dungeons. Each dungeon has it has a final boss. It's got a mid-level boss, and then it's got, when you beat it, it's got an item. In this case, it's a musical instrument. You need to collect all 8 of them, and then use those 8 instruments to wake up the windfish. But about halfway through, you get to one of the final bosses of the dungeon, and he kind of drops this bombshell of, you don't want to be doing this. And I remember playing this the first time, like, wait a minute, I've played these other Zelda games, and I want to save the land. Why do I not want to save it this time? And I felt like it was kind of this internal struggle between, do I want to, you know what, let's say it. Because if you wake up the windfish, these bosses were saying, if you wake up the windfish, everything that you see will be destroyed. It will disappear. So you've kind of developed these relationships with these people on the island, and it turns into this internal struggle of, do I want to awaken the windfish to beat the game and get back to where I came from, or in return, that's going to destroy everything that I've come to know, or do I want to leave it how it is and keep everything that I've found?
Yeah, it's bizarre. I kind of, like, I forget what boss it was that said that. He was like, think about what you're doing or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was.
And I thought he was doing, like, reverse psychology on me. I was like, fuck you. I know what I'm doing.
I don't
Shut your
know.
mouth.
Stab you.
Yeah. Enough out of you. But yeah, it's kind of crazy how it was set up that way. And I was still, like, not 100% sure what was going on.
Did it kind of become clear at the end, or are you still kind of...
So was it a dream then?
Yes.
Okay.
So at the
That's
beginning,
what I
you
thought.
wake up on the beach. Your ship is wrecked, and you wake up on the beach, and you get taken into Maybe Village, and you set forth on your quest from there. But then at the very end, you awaken the windfish, and at the end, you're back adrift out in the ocean on all of this driftwood.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really kind of interesting is that at the end, you look up in the sky and you see the windfish flying up above you. So that kind of leaves it like, did this all really happen, or was it all a dream?
Can we talk about the windfish for a little bit, or do we want to talk about that later?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, I feel like I was, like, looking at a creation of the Beatles on their acid trips when I looked at the windfish. Oh my god.
I thought, to me, at the very end, were you playing the DX version? Is it's all color, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I saw at the very end, when you finally got to see him, it looked like he was wearing cut-off jean shorts where his fins and tail were.
Yeah.
He's just nice little cut-off jean shorts, but then, he's farting rainbows and everything, and
Yeah, it was, like, totally trippy towards the end.
he's pretty cool. I like the windfish.
I was convinced there'd be, like, a yellow submarine that would pick me up when
See,
I was floating. And
had that been a direct homage to the Beatles, I probably would have turned around and started hating this game.
Really?
I'm not a Beatles fan.
Why?
It's just not in the least bit. I don't know. It's nothing personal. It's just, it's not my style of music. And then, I don't know. I think, like, the cult following kind of that they have established with kids that just like the Beatles to say they like the Beatles kind of bothers me.
No, you're a bit of a hipster, though.
Kind of. So, yeah, back to the windfish. So at the end, I was left thinking, okay, was this a dream, or did this really happen? And what's kind of interesting is that if it were a dream, then technically I think it could be Link had this dream within the dream of the windfish. Do you follow me?
Inception.
Kind of.
So, like, Link was dreaming and transferred into the windfish dream?
Yeah, I think it's really kind of interesting because if this were one of Link's dreams or hallucinations, then he was dreaming that the windfish was dreaming him.
Oh.
Because technically everything that existed on that island was a dream of the windfish.
What if Link just dreamed all of that stuff up?
What if they each had their own dreams and then they just kind of met and merged together?
We're getting deep.
We're trying to philosophize this more than we should. That's not even a word.
I knew what you meant.
So there's the story of the game, but the actual gameplay itself, for being a Game Boy game, this was a very, very engaging, immersive, really deep game. I forgot just how in-depth this game is.
Yeah. It was, like, it wasn't just, I kept forgetting it was okay, so I had the acquired copy of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because I went to find, a physical copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
$30.
Yeah, this game is not cheap.
So I was like, eh.
Well, especially if you want to find the DX one.
so...
The DX version is a lot harder to find than just the standard Link's Awakening.
Yeah. So, yes, I just put that off.
Lost my train of thought again.
Oh, I don't know what we're saying. Oh, yeah, I kept forgetting it was a Game Boy game because it was very immersive, I think.
Oh, okay. So how much of the actual trading system did you go through in there? Because at the very beginning, they kind of force you to begin the whole trading aspect where you have to pick up the Yoshi from the store, give it to the baby, and then the baby will give you a bow tie. Then you have to give the bow tie to the dog, who will give you the dog food. You have to give the dog food to the gator, who will give you a banana, and you have to take the banana to the monkey, who will build the bridge, and he'll give you a stick. And then you have to take the stick to Marin, who will use it to bat down the beehive. And then I'm going to see how far I can go on this before I forget something. And then the beehive, Marin will give you the beehive. And then you take the beehive to the cook in Animal Village. And he gives you a...
Did you talk about the bananas already?
Yes.
Okay.
You take the bananas to the monkeys, and the monkeys... Yeah. Then you have to... That's how you get into the castle. And I think, honestly, that's where the trading system officially ends, because that's how you get into the castle to finish one of the quests to get the golden leaves, and then you get into Dungeon 3. All the trading after that, I want to say, is strictly voluntary.
What about the was that part of the very last one?
Well, because then you go to after you take the honey to the cook in Animal Village, he gives you a fishing hook, doesn't he?
Where does the pineapple come in? Wasn't that before that?
Oh, yeah, you have to give the... Do you give the honey or the pineapple to the cook?
I'm getting confused now.
That's right. Then there's the goat lady in Animal Village who gives you a letter, or you give her the hibiscus, and then you take the letter to Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright will give you...
A broom or something? Or there's a broom in there too?
Yes, he gives you a broom. You take that back to the old lady in Animal Village. Then she gives you... Oh, crap. I don't remember, but there's so much stuff that you have to trade, and they don't give you any idea of who to trade it with.
Yeah, you'll see, I love the little dog, the second trade with the ribbon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, that was so cute. That was my favorite part. But yeah, you'll hear mention of it, and you're like, oh crap, now I have to actually do something with this. Or...
Yeah, and what's neat is that they don't, they kind of introduce it to you in that way where hey, you have to figure this out the first couple times. And then after that, it's just strictly if you want to do this, it'll help you out. I think there is one part later in the game where you have to give the guy up on the mountain the pineapple, and then he opens something for you. Or no, he heads back to town. I don't know if that's required, but there's so much side quest stuff to do. Like, did you do any of the fishing stuff?
No.
Did you even discover that or not?
No.
If you go to the house in Maybe Village where you have the dog,
Yes.
you just go north from there. There's a huge fishing pond, and there's an entire fishing mini game where you can fish for different size fish, and they're worth different amounts of coin.
They did that in, what other Zelda game did they do that in? Did they do it in Ocarina of Time? I remember fishing in one
I think
game.
I think so. It's been a long time since I've played through that. I think you're right. Did you do how many of the Ocarina songs did you get?
The one that she gives you, Marlin or whatever.
Yep.
And then the stupid one where you have the big fish.
The big fish or the frog?
The fish?
Was that
Like you're swimming in the... and then there's little fish underneath it, I think.
Oh, yeah. That's the one that I missed this playthrough. I got numbers 1 and 3 this time. Because there's
I hate the rhythm ones. I just suck at them.
The third one, did you do the part where you had to follow those signposts in a certain order to open up the dungeon, and then you go down in and there's the frogs down there singing their song and you have to pay them $300?
Yes.
So you get that one, and that one allows you to reanimate the dead rooster in town.
Yeah, which is creepy.
Yeah, that thing's really cool. Oh, did you take my advice and do the color dungeon?
Yes.
How far in did you do that right after dungeon number 4?
What one was dungeon number 4? That was the one.
Was that the water one?
That's what I wanted to say, the water one.
Yeah, I think that's the water one.
That one's like, because there's the bomb one is 3.
Yes.
And that one sucked. Because I couldn't figure out where to put all the bombs.
Yeah.
Like all of the like secret little hidey holes. I was like, what the hell? It took me forever for that one.
Yeah.
And then the water one. And then
the color dungeon was really neat. I think getting that sword made the game a little bit easier, though. Did you take the sword or did you take the defense tunic?
that was the one. What one was the one that you slept in bed?
I think that you just got...
That wasn't
Yeah, that wasn't actually a dungeon. The color dungeon you had to go to... I talked about it on last show where you had to go to the library and then it gives you the specific pattern to move the gravestones up in the graveyard, and then it's a 9th full dungeon in the game. And then when you beat the dungeon, instead of getting a musical instrument, they give you the option between a new sword or a new tunic.
the red tunic, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
the red
the
tunic
sword.
or the blue tunic, and the red tunic increases your damage.
Yeah.
So you did the color dungeon?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was really cool. I was kind of hesitant on it first. I thought that maybe they're just throwing this in to kind of show off, oh, hey, this game's in color now, so we're just going to put a bunch of color stuff in here. But it fit really well with the theme of the game. But if you didn't know where to go and look for it, you would have totally missed it.
Yeah.
But speaking of confusing dungeons, I gave you a little bit of forewarning, but I think you were kind of caught off guard with how insanely difficult the last 2 dungeons were.
Yeah. And, like, I got lost a million times because I didn't know where to go.
Well, number 7 was specifically more difficult because that's one where you had to pick up that giant bowling ball and then throw it into the different pillars, but you couldn't just walk around. You had to throw it across a fence and then figure out how to backtrack your way and then hit those triggers that would raise or lower the blocks. And you just kind of had to build this mental image of, if this is where I can hit this block, here are all the places I can go and where I can't go. And I think
And the
that one's
crystals were bad too because I found that they never like if you hit them, they would just splash. Like it wasn't like I'm turned on or I'm turned off. So
yeah.
you weren't I was never really sure if I had hit that one or if I hit another one or
Yeah, you just have to kind of keep
how to reset it. Yeah.
mental track of what's going on. Dungeon 7 was by far the most annoying one. Just because I kept getting confused as to where do I need to go. The first 6 dungeons were very linear, easily laid out. If you played Link to the Past, you're going to be able to breeze through the first 6. But I think that the Dungeon 7 and 8 were among two of the most confusing and difficult Zelda dungeons. Besides the Ocarina of Time one, the water one with the Zoras.
I hate that water one.
Every time I get to that, I'm just like, I'm going to quit here because I don't want to get frustrated and hate this game.
Yeah.
Dungeon 8 in particular, I think I spent an hour just walking around because there are 2 spots where you go up the stairs and there are suddenly these ice blocks. And like, how the hell do I get through these ice blocks? And I knew there was a fire wand somewhere. But this game doesn't always specifically tell you that, hey, this wall can be blown up. There are some that have little cracks in them.
But only on, like, certain views. I don't know.
Yeah.
Piss me off.
So this one, I was just looking on my map, and there was just this one room that was not open. So finally, I'm just like, you know what? Screw it. It's the only thing I haven't tried. And I went and blasted a hole, and I'm like, oh, sure enough. That's where there's one crystal where you could hit it, and it would change the blocks, and then you could go get your fire wand.
Because that part screwed me up.
Yeah.
It wasn't happening. And you gave me that hint for that one. Because
I'm impressed though because I've recommended this game to a lot of people, and a lot of them have gotten very frustrated and turned it off because it's not very linear. It's not very straightforward.
But it was fun though, I think.
Yeah.
And because I don't know, like I don't know if it was because it was a Game Boy game that it felt a little different, but I liked it.
I think
really did.
The thing is, though, that I truly believe that this game, if you take it back to its time when it came out, I want to say this game came out in 93. I want to fact check this before I... Do you know when Link to the Past came out?
No, but I thought it said on the credits 98.
Well, I think the DX version was 98.
Yeah.
So, okay, Link's Awakening was 93. Link to the Past. That was 91. Okay. So, I honestly think that this game was, at its time, one of the first portable games that was on par with its console counterpart.
Yeah.
I know it's a really bold claim to make, but this game is huge. It's big. It's just as immersive as A Link to the Past. It might not be
challenging.
Yeah, very challenging. It might not be as long, because I remember Link to the Past being like 10, 12 hours long. This one,
This one took a while though.
Yeah, honestly, I would say this one probably took me 8 to 9 hours.
Yeah.
If not a little bit longer, because there were a few spots. You could make it a lot longer if you did all of the side stuff and dug up all the secret seashells and found all the heart pieces.
Yeah, I found myself getting distracted a lot in it.
The secret seashells are kind of a bust because I think there's only 30 of them. And there was that one little hut over by Animal Village where you can go and see how many you have. And once you collect 20 of them, it gives you the level 2 sword. And then after that, any secret seashells that you would have found just turn into rubies.
Yeah.
So it's kind of pointless to try to collect all 30.
But I did love the Nintendo aspect of it.
There was a lot of that. We mentioned that a little bit before in last show, but as I played through, there was a lot more in some of the later dungeons.
Yeah, especially like I was so excited when you like went down to the like the basement level.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they're called. The little like brown guy that you jump on.
The Goombas?
Goombas, yes. I was so excited that you could jump on them.
Yeah.
Like, that made the game for me.
Well, and if you notice, too, in some of the later levels, when you had to use the hook shot in the basement levels, the statues that you had to attach to were Bowser's head.
Yeah.
And then there were the jumping fish. There were the flaming fireballs coming out of the pit. There were the underwater octopus that you had to swim around. And even at one of the last Dungeon 7, there was a Kirby in there. Did you see it?
No.
Yeah.
Where?
It wasn't in the underground level. It was Dungeon 7. You know how there was that walkway around the outside of the map that you could drop down to from above? Not on the walkway, but down below in the far upper left-hand corner. It was a room with 2 Goombas and 1 Kirby. And if you got too close to him, he started sucking you in.
That's so funny.
Yeah. There was a lot of homages to Mario in this. And even
and like the Shy Guys.
The Shy Guys. Where were they?
In Dungeon 2, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And, what else was there?
Well, and it didn't really detract from the feel that this was still a Zelda game. It's just like, oh yeah, hey, this has got some Mario elements to it. It was really well done. It wasn't over the top.
Yeah, and I loved having Bow Wow with me though.
He was fun.
Although I felt like a little weird. I was like, normally you try to kill me, like.
Yeah, why are you my friend? In all, this is still one of my favorite handheld portable games of all time. Just hands down, I love this game. I probably I don't play through it to completion, but I probably pick it up and play it 1 or 2 times each year just to kind of, play through the first few dungeons and just relive that experience.
The part that really pissed me off though was the you need power bracelet before you could do anything, like pick anything up.
Yeah.
Which was annoying, and it was really annoying just because every single time you accidentally bumped into something, oh, this is so strong, you can't, whatever.
Well, it's kind of like those
kill you.
Green crystals, too, that you have to use the Pegasus boots.
Yes, pissed me off. That was probably the most frustrating thing. I was like, I get it. I didn't mean to try to do that.
Yeah. Well, on the Game Boy screen, too, they limit you to 2 lines of text at any given time. So it just takes
so much clicking
forever to go through it. I don't know if I told you this last time, but there is one Easter egg in that game that I usually exploit just because it's funny. There's a part at the beginning. Actually, no, not at the beginning. Right before you go to Dungeon 5, you need to have the bow and arrow. And that costs 980 rupees in the store. And by then you should have 1,000. But if you're just plowing through it and you don't collect all the chests or you don't have enough money, you can actually steal things from the store. Oh. And you pick it up, and usually you walk over to the guy and you set it down and you pay for your shit and leave.
Yeah.
You can pick it up, and then you have to walk around the guy clockwise 2 or 3 times, and then you walk out the door and it's yours for free. However, the next time you go back into the store, he kills you and changes your name permanently to Thief.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and if you're trying to go through the game and play it without dying, so you get the no continues ending, which is at the end of the game, in the DX version, Marin, the girl, shows up at the very end of the game when Link is floating. It's just kind of like up in the sky or something.
Yeah, didn't see that.
Yeah, so you definitely didn't get that ending. Neither did I, but it's kind of cool, just that they have little things like that. So every time you talk to somebody, instead of addressing you as whatever name that you put in, they just address you as Thief.
That's so funny.
So, yeah.
Your sneak level is not high enough.
I just thought it was cool that they put something like that in there. Yeah. Any other thoughts on? Oh wait, hold on. You know what? good thing I didn't forget. I think we actually have an opinion email here. I keep forgetting that we're doing that. If you want to play, second week we're doing this. If you want to play these games along with us, hopefully you are. If you want to be part of the show, you can send in your emails to factorysealed@manatank.com. Put opinion in the subject line so I know that it's going to be an opinion email and we can kind of incorporate your thoughts into the discussion. Nick Stevens.
If you remember, apparently.
Yeah, well, I remembered. Nick Stevens, the guy who actually gave us the suggestion for this segment, glad to see he's carrying on the trend, writes in and he wanted to... Did we read this last time?
I don't know.
No, we didn't. No, this is February 13th. Okay, so he said that some of the things that he really enjoyed in this game was the music. He said he's a musician, so he pays a lot of attention to music in the game, and he said that the music in this game is what really drew him in, super top-notch, and the classic theme song, although it's done in kind of a crappy 8-bit tune, I feel like this game really encapsulates a lot of the traditional Zelda sound.
For sure.
I was playing this with Christian, the guy who's on the show once. He didn't really grow up. He didn't really grow up playing a lot of 8-bit games. So I'm sitting over at his house playing this, and he's like, "Oh, what are you playing?" I told him what it was, and I turned the music up a little bit. And he's like, "I could never play that game." Like, why not? It's like, because that music would drive me nuts. Like, how do you not like 8-bit music?
I can see. If I have a headache or something, then I have to turn the volume off because it drives me crazy.
I suppose, but...
Because I find it's more like piercing, I think.
True.
But any other time, no, it's like it makes you happy.
I think for me, though, especially since I've got such a connection with this game as a child, that I like to listen to the music, even despite how annoying it is, because it kind of reemerges me into the game and makes me feel like a kid again. And, you know, you hear all this stuff and you start remembering what you were feeling when you first played this game.
I can see that for sure.
He says one of the other things that really drew him to it was the immediate action, and I can kind of attest to this with, he says that some games like Twilight Princess, they decide to make you play for hours before getting to the meat of the game, whereas the old Zelda-style games just throw you right in the middle of the action. So, like Ocarina of Time, they do that at the beginning. It's not too bad, but it's probably a good 2 hours before you're into the actual first dungeon.
But do you think that's more like... I find that newer games tend to do that, and I don't know if they're trying to, like, help with a learning curve within the game. But if you think about older games, you're, like, immediately into the game, so there is a huge learning curve when it comes to some games. Like, usually, the first dungeon probably took me longer than any of the other ones because I was trying to figure out what to do. So, when they kind of don't do that, I think maybe they have the, like, scaffolding built in.
I think there needs to be a better balance, because I absolutely despise when I get thrown into a game and I can tell that the first 2 hours are going to be nothing but crappy tutorial stuff.
Yeah.
Just for example, I picked up Killzone 3 last night, and the first 45 minutes of the game were just walking through the level, and then you got to go to the gun range and learn how to shoot your gun. It's like, I've played hundreds of shooters before. I know how to shoot my stupid gun.
Yeah, and that, maybe, like, it would be cool if you could bypass that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know it sucks. Like, usually, like, the first, little bit of the game, you're like, Jesus Christ. Well, my gun sucks. I can't do anything.
Yeah, how do I do this? And then it's that discovery of, oh, this is it. Like I said on the last show with this game, I remember vividly sitting in my living room playing this game for like 3 hours at the very beginning and getting super upset because I couldn't find my sword. Even though they didn't flat out say, here is your sword, here's how you use it. You know, there were subtle text drops that, you know, as a kid, maybe I just didn't pick up on, like, go to the beach. And I went to the beach and I saw the sword, but I couldn't get to it because it took me a while to figure out that, oh, if I hold up my shield and walk into this enemy, the enemy will move. Whereas if this game were made now, they probably would have had a little text box pop up at the beginning saying, hit B to hold your shield. By the way, shields can push enemies out of the way.
But they had that in the library.
Yeah, but that was completely secondary if you wanted to go and see it.
That's true.
I don't like the concept of games building these tutorials in. I understand it's there for newcomers and they don't want to alienate new people because modern games are a lot more complex, but there's something to be said about just being thrown into the action.
Yeah. I do like that better.
Yeah, I don't know, I think it's...
Like, there's some parts that were frustrating, like, even when I was trying to find the stupid bananas. Like, the guy's like, go to the beach. I'm walking around the beach. Can't find freaking bananas.
Did you notice all of those telephone huts around the village or around the island?
Yeah, I never went into them though.
That was if you got confused as to what you should be doing. Let's say you set the game down for 2 weeks and came back and didn't remember what you're supposed to do. You could go in there and call the old man Uriah, and he would kind of give you a subtle hint as to where to go next.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So some RPGs do that. Last thing he said, gameplay. Between this and Link to the Past, I don't find myself replaying other Zelda games. Loves a top-down classic way of playing Zelda. The new 3D versions just haven't appealed to him. And I can kind of agree with him on that in one aspect because Zelda truly is a top-down game. And I think the game, it transferred well to the 3D version, and it's still a fantastic game, but there's something to be said about these top-down 2D dungeon crawling style games.
Yeah.
I definitely like him. He was playing it on his 3DS on the Virtual Console, which it's on there for $6. So, let's see if he's got anything else. Oh yeah, he said he remembers playing this game in 1999 when he got his very first Game Boy Color. At 12, he had a strict bedtime. Remembers playing it in the middle of the night with his Mad Catz magnifying glass / light, which he put a picture of, and I had one of those things too, and good lord, they were hideous.
That was the funniest though, like, trying to figure out how to stay up without your parents knowing that you were.
See, I guess I never really had that issue. My parents just, after like 4th grade, just like, you don't really have a bedtime, you're just kind of responsible for getting yourself up and getting to school. And I never really had an issue with it. They're like, if it starts to turn into a problem, then we'll give you bedtime again.
Oh, I would break it all the time. I'd be reading or something.
Nerd.
I know. My mom hid my books one time. Forced me to go out with my friends.
You're too smart.
Get stupid. Come on.
So, any closing thoughts on Zelda? Were you glad you played it? Were you looking forward to playing it?
I was. And then I was a little, like, at first I was like, a little apprehensive because the storyline was so unfamiliar, but then I really liked it because the storyline was unfamiliar.
Yeah. It's something so different, but it's kind of strange how something can be completely different and out of the norm yet still be familiar.
Yeah.
So, anybody who hasn't played it, our recommendation,
do it.
Top notch. Did you play anything else in our late week?
No.
Nothing.
I
played a little bit of a game that Kev suggested, and just because this is another one that I had really fond childhood memories of. He suggested I play Dune, The Battle for Arrakis on the Sega Genesis. And I'm a really big RTS fan to a degree, and I dug out my old Genesis, and yeah, I still had the cartridge for this. I popped it in, and I'm actually kind of disappointed that I did, because that game is real shitty. Like,
we talked about this a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a very, very poorly done RTS. And RTS games don't really work well on a console as it is, so imagine putting an RTS on the Sega Genesis. It just, it didn't function well. One of the most crucial parts of a proper RTS is being able to have a huge army and then select all of them or a certain bunch of them at once and then move them to a central location. This one, you had to pick each unit and then move your cursor to where you wanted them to go, and then go back and get the next unit and move it to where you wanted to go. So if you wanted to move your units across the map, you had to do it one at a time.
That would take forever.
One at a time. And it's kind of neat if you're into the story of Dune, because you can choose between the 3 houses, and each house has a little bit of a different storyline, but the game itself is pretty short. There's only 10 levels. Basically, you start out as just this basic commander in the army, and the leader of this house is like, I see some promise in you. How about you go out and harvest some spice for us, and we'll see how you do. And you do that, and then they move on to the next level, and there's only 10 levels, and there's 2 conditions to win for each one. They usually give you a condition of harvest this much spice or destroy the enemy. And this time around, I found it was much easier to just build a bunch of spice farms and then harvest as much spice as you possibly can and beat the level in 4 minutes. And then be done with it. And then just basically fend off the people, the few straggling enemies that come in. So, kind of pissed off that I played this game. Like, actually really upset that I played it, because I really enjoyed this game, and I kept the cartridge. I have the original box that it came in, mint condition. And I look at it every once in a while, like, I really enjoyed playing that game as a kid, and kind of ruined it.
But Kevin really likes RTS games.
He does. And I don't think he's played that game recently. I think he might be in the same boat.
Or else he'd be a little pissed.
Yeah, so I'm going to recommend it. Don't play Dune at all, ever. Because it's not a good game. The music is terrible. The graphics are horrendous. Even for their time, they were terrible. Everything, it's not even like an isometric view. It's just straight top down, like flat 2D sprites. Very dumb. Very, very, very dumb.
Good to know.
I honestly don't think I played anything else of substance. This past week, there's been the 25th anniversary Final Fantasy sale on the PlayStation Store, where every Final Fantasy game on the PSN Store is 50% off, which is kind of a killer deal, because if you haven't played 7, 8, and 9, you can get them, all 3 of them, for $15. Which,
not bad.
That's an insane deal. So this past week, I know I told you that I went out and bought myself a Vita, and it was actually kind of strange how that came about, because I got a call on Wednesday from the school district saying that they had made a decision and offered me the job. So I called Christy and told her the news, to which she replied, "Oh, you should go buy yourself a Vita and celebrate." Like, okay. I'm going to do this before you rescind your offer. So I went out and got that. So I've been downloading. I downloaded 7, 8, and 9 just because I want to have them. I'll eventually play through them again. But did you play many of the old 2D Final Fantasy games or not?
No.
I'm trying to make a decision between purchasing Final Fantasy IV. They have the complete collection, which is the PSP version. It's still the same 2D Super Nintendo version of Final Fantasy II, but it also comes with the interlude and then a WiiWare game that they created called the After Years, which kind of expands on the story. So it's basically 3 games for $10. Or put that money towards the Final Fantasy IV for the DS, which they remade in 3D graphics and has new cutscenes and voiceovers. So I'm kind of torn.
Huh.
But that's, I started Final Fantasy VII again, and I'm not really going to play much of it. I feel like we should save that for one of our shows that we eventually get around to doing another huge, huge game.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's all I played this week. Just finished up Zelda.
Yeah, I think if we are doing the weekly shows, which I really like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we're going to be getting to multiple games.
Unless they're really small games.
Yeah.
Which is okay, because some of them are.
Yeah.
Want to do some emails?
Sure.
Okay. I'm just going to continue off of the email that Nick Stevens sent us because he did have a suggestion at the bottom that I really, really like. And he says, if I could make one suggestion for next week, I'd like to suggest a comparison of the Super Nintendo Aladdin versus the Sega Genesis Aladdin. Most people prefer the Genesis, but I've always found the Super Nintendo version better. He wants to hear what we think.
Did you play Aladdin?
I did. I love that game. And I'm one of those people that I do prefer the Sega Genesis version.
Huh.
Have you ever played it?
No.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's really, really good. Like it's
What is the difference?
To be honest, I don't really remember, which is why I'm kind of excited to play through both of them again, just to see what the difference was.
Yeah.
I know that they're the same game, but there are some very crucial differences. So definitely going to keep that in mind for next week.
Yeah.
Because that's something we can do between now and the next show. Let's see. We've got a question. We did read that one last time. You know what? I'm going to bring this up again because I forgot to mention it. That question we had last week that said, are there any specific game companies that you enjoyed back in the day that aren't around anymore that you think should have lasted longer? And there was one company that I completely forgot to mention, and one of my followers on Twitter sent it to me. I want to see if I can give him a shout out for it because it was super, super glad that he reminded me of it. It's a company called Working Designs. Did you ever play anything from them?
What did they do?
They did the... Let me see. I've got a few of their games. They did one of my all-time favorite games ever, Alundra. They did a lot of those old anime-style RPG games. They did the Lunar games.
God, their logo is so ridiculous.
Yeah, did you just look it up?
Yeah, it's so 80s.
It's pretty bad. But their games are so good. Can you look up a list of some of the other games? Because I'm drawing a blank. I want to see if I can get this guy's.
On PlayStation, Alundra, Ark of the Lad Collection.
Ark of the Lad, yes.
Lunar.
Yep.
Raystorm, Ray Crisis. Thunder Force.
I don't remember those ones.
Um,
Oh, okay. It was
Dragon Force.
the guy that sent me the tweet was Sky Raider. So it doesn't. Guess that's his real name. We're just gonna go Sky Raider. So yeah, I'm glad he kind of reminded me about that. I think he's the one who sent in the question about Alundra. But yeah, Working Designs does incredible stuff. You've not played Alundra yet, have you?
No.
We're gonna save that for a special show because this game holds a very, very dear place in my heart.
I feel like your heart is huge, apparently.
For certain games, yes.
Oh, there's a character named Jess. I'm good.
This game's fantastic. To give you to give you a little snippet of the importance it has to me. When I played it as a kid, I rented it, and then the store that I rented it from went out of business and got rid of it. And I'd only played like the first hour of it, but I was so enamored over it that it became my quest to find it. And this is back before you could just go online and buy games online. So I hunted everywhere for this game. And we were out on vacation in Seattle when I discovered
Were
that
you
there was
sleepless?
little bit. Good one. I discovered
lame.
there were Funko lands out there. So I made my mom drive to all the Funko lands out there, and I finally found a copy, and it was like $40. And I begged her to get it for me. And she finally got it for me, and I played through it, and that game actually gave me the inspiration for a story that I wrote in middle school that won a National Young Authors Award. So that game is super important to me.
What is Funko Land?
Funko Land was just like a really, really old version of EB Games, GameStop. They kind of absorbed all into GameStop.
Oh.
So let's get to a real email a new one here.
I don't think we had those.
Probably not. Okay, we've got a question here from Harrison Hameter. Why do I feel like we read this one already?
Can you get your shit together?
I'm not screening these. This is the one, yeah, we read the one about abnormalities, smell, marking stickers.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Harrison, we read that one last week. Okay, we didn't read this one from Matthew Martins. It says, "Hi, Factory Sealed. First thing I want to say is I love the show. I'm looking forward to it being a weekly show. I have a question and recommendation for you, and both have to do with the Genesis. Just wondering your opinion on the Sega Genesis and what you would consider to be the best game of a fairly lackluster library. My two favorite games are the Shining Force series and Wonder Boy and Monster World. I also have some fond memories of Road Rash. Something about hitting people with a bat while riding a motorcycle is really a blast. If anyone hasn't played these games, I would strongly recommend them. Keep up the work, and seriously, Jess, it's Mario, not Mario.
I know, whatever.
And I'm Canadian. Yours truly from north of the border, Matt."
I just suck at pronunciation.
You do.
I know.
Mario.
And then the more I think about something, the worse. What was I trying to say? The other day. Now, I'm not even going to be able to say it either. But you know when someone's anonymous, they have
Anonymity?
Anonymity. That's just, it's gone all the time. It's one of those things.
You're a special kind of person.
I am.
So, what do you think the two best Sega games are? Did you grow up with a Sega?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so this question's...
I didn't have all of these fancy systems like you.
Question's kind of lost on you. He did hit the nail on the head, though. It did have kind of a lackluster library. However, there were some real gems that came out of it. But for me personally, Mutant League Football is one of the best on the Genesis. And then I would say... honestly...
Aladdin, now that we've been talking about that?
No, I don't want to say that was one of the best on the system.
I love the Sonic games, though.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
But I liked cutesy games like that.
I'm really drawing a blank here. The Virtua series of games, like Virtua Fighter, Virtua Racer, those games were good simply because they were kind of they were kind of cresting into the full-on 3D realm. I'm trying to think of the name of the damn game. Phantasy Star was pretty good. I wouldn't. The Genesis just really didn't have a lot of good games. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. Phantasy Star is probably up there with some of the best ones. If you want to give it to Sonic,
yeah,
sure. Zombies 8, Golden Axe. There we go. That's the name of it. Golden Axe is pretty good. But I think you could get Golden Axe on Super. No, you couldn't. Golden Axe was Genesis. Sorry, I'm not more insightful on the Genesis at this point. Oh, let's see. Okay, next question. This one's kind of long, so I'm going to try to abbreviate it. Oh, this is Topher White. I believe
that we got in trouble from.
Yeah, sorry. He's been trying to send this in for a while, so I suppose I should read it.
You've been ignoring him, being a horrible person.
I honestly went back through the emails and I don't think I saw it. So I think the issue was on his end. Okay. He says, "Hello, Factory Sealed. It Topher. I've been trying to send this email for the past 2 weeks, and the first time it just got dropped, and last time you missed it. I sent it the same day as the previous episode got put up, so that might have something to do with it. With this being 3 weeks of stuff I've wanted to say, it's a little long message. It's not too bad. Now, back in episode 7, you were talking about old Final Fantasy fighting games that wasn't very good. Well, I want to point you towards Dissidia, the modern Final Fantasy fighting game for PSP, which that's what's on sale on the PSN right now, and I've kind of been debating about whether or not to get it. So,
just do it.
But here's the thing. I hate, with a passion, fighting games. So I don't think I want to waste my money in it.
Final Fantasy.
I do, but I don't think my love for Final Fantasy can stave off my hatred for fighting games.
And did you just hear how I said final? Because that's what I do. I screw up words.
I just pretended not to hear it.
Okay.
All right. Another thing in episode 7 of the show is that you brought up the Third Birthday. And let me tell you, you've got that game pinned all wrong. The Third Birthday is really fun, if at a time convoluted, third-person shooter that is really bleeping hard. I don't remember talking about that game.
I don't know.
The Third Birthday? What is that?
Did we just mention it in passing?
I bet Aron was talking about it. Oh, no. You know what that is? That is the PSP offshoot of Parasite Eve.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yes, it's the afterness after Parasite Eve 2.
Okay. I suppose I would need to play through Parasite Eve 2 to understand Third Birthday.
So it would have been Aron. So
it definitely would have
totally
been Aron.
His.
Okay.
Yeah, he has to.
I'm going to make Aron listen to the show so we can relay that information. All right, now for my question. I need to preface this a little. I was recently watching some anime that I remember from my childhood, most notably Digimon Season 3, and found it was way darker than I remembered it being. Now, are there any games that going back are a lot darker than you remember?
Little Mermaid.
Just because of all the sex references. I feel like as a kid, you miss all of that stuff that's put in there just because you haven't been exposed to it. So I think pretty much any game going back to.
Because I'm going back to Illusion of Gaia, and we really kind of tore that one apart when it came to how sad it was and depressing. And
I did not pick up on any of that when I was a kid.
So, yeah, all of my memories were happy-go-lucky ones, so I don't think. I'm sure you could go back and find a whole bunch of references.
Yeah. Finally, I have 2 game suggestions. The first one I noticed during the PSN this week, and I'd love to hear your opinions about how it holds up, so I should know if to get it or not. Twisted Metal for the PS1. I'm going to say if you've never played a Twisted Metal, it's not terrible, but if you didn't play it in its time...
I thought you loved Twisted Metal.
It's okay. The story, the lore behind it is really cool, really engaging, but I don't think that it holds up very well.
That is one of the only I suck at driving, but I like that game.
Yeah, it's a basic combat racing game. And I think Twisted Metal 1 and 2 were fantastic. The new one for the PS3 didn't do so well, but I would say give it a shot. I mean, it's $6. You really can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Plus, they've got the Twisted Metal combo right now where you can pay $40 and get every Twisted Metal game ever released.
But I always am now, whenever I think about Twisted Metal, I go to, Insane Clown Posse, which is horrible.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do that too.
It pisses me off.
All right, he says, second is a game that changed my life. I know that phrase gets thrown out around a lot, but let's see.
By you?
No, not really. I've tried not to. I've only thrown it out once to Oliver with Demon Souls. He says, this game changed my life and most notably what I believe in. I won't say that this game will change your life, but I wanted to put out the fact that it had changed mine. Tales of Symphonia. This was not only my first RPG, it was my first GameCube game and the first game where I truly invested in the story, and the story changed how I perceive the world around me. I won't get into it now, but if you're really interested, send me a message back and I'll send you a condensed version of it. Back to talking about the game, the really cool thing about it is that it's not only a really long game, it's also 4-player co-op. I skipped that one.
My friend really likes that one.
Do you have any idea what it's about?
I know it's like the whole Tale series I skipped.
Yeah,
It didn't appeal to me.
me either. Maybe it's because I was so invested in a lot of different RPGs at the time that I just didn't have room in my brain for another series.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to check that one out. I'm going to make a note of that one. But if it's GameCube... Oh, I've got a Wii. I could play it on the Wii.
Of course.
I'll have to look into that. That's kind of interesting, though. I like it when people can make connections with a game like that and have it personally change how they feel, because a lot of games sometimes people just see it as this is just something to kill time. But
yeah,
when a game has that profound of an impact on somebody, I think that's really, really something cool. Any games ever do that for you?
I don't know. I'm trying to think.
I would say Alundra for me, because that game really kind of pushed me forward into writing, because I didn't like reading or writing when I was a kid, and then I played that game, and there's just something about it that just captivated me, and it completely changed my outlook towards fictional writing.
My brain's not working.
Okay. Well,
Memory lane is cloudy today.
we will go on to the next email. Let's see. This email comes from Proco. It says, "Hey gang, just have to say I thoroughly enjoy your show.
Haha, words aren't working for you either.
Canadian listener since day one. As an avid collector and retro aficionado, it's comforting to still listen to discussion about the relics of the video game world. That being said, I'm an 85 and retro is absolutely anything pre-PS1 generation." Which is understandable for him, but like we explained in the first couple episodes, it has to be a working definition, because, and I was thinking about this, this email I did read, it popped up on my phone and I read it, so I did screen this. I got to thinking about it, and 10 years ago, anything pre-PS1 was only 10 years old at that time. If you think about it, because in 2003, 10 years before that was 93, and that's when the Super Nintendo was kind of in its height, and that's what everybody was considering retro. So if you continue your working definition of what is a retro game, 10 years ago, the PS2 was in its height. So you could incorporate the PS1 and the PS2 in that if you keep your definitions the same. Because if you just constantly say anything pre-PS1, well, pretty soon PS2 games are going to be 30 years old, and you're not going to be including those in retro.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when the term retro gaming came around was early 2000s, and people are like, well, it's just anything pre-PS1. So he says, as gaming moves more to an online medium and it becomes social, I find it ironically takes the social aspect out of the experience. I remember constantly playing games with friends while you actually sat in the same room, which brings me to my question. What multiplayer retro games do you have the best memories of playing with your friends, and why? For me,
I think Super Smash Brothers. Just because it was so much fun with my cousins. That's all we would do.
Never got into Super Smash Brothers. Ever.
So fun.
I could see why people like it, but I just never got into it.
But it was a fun game because you could play, we would play with all of our family. So, you didn't have to be big into playing games. It was more button mashing than it was a lot of skill, but it was so much fun. If we're talking about a fun aspect, that's the game that I would pick.
Yeah. I honestly remember playing a lot of NFL Blitz and Mutant League Football, Diddy Kong Racing.
Mario Kart.
Mario Kart? I'm not familiar with that game.
I know you're not. It's a special version of it.
The Canadian poutine version?
No, apparently not even Canadian. The Jessica version of it.
Okay.
Mario Kart.
Yeah, I could. Yeah. Since we're including some PS2 in this, one of my buddies and I would constantly play the Champions of Norath games which, dungeon crawler, Baldur's Gate style games. So we turned the Grand Theft Auto games kind of into multiplayer games. I'd have a bunch of friends come over, and we'd be playing Grand Theft Auto 3, and we had a rule where we would just run around and cause chaos, and you could play as long as you stayed alive. And then as soon as you died, you had to hand off the controller. So, I don't know. I think that's one of my favorite ones, because we had a lot of...
Were you able to, like, sabotage people, though? That's what I felt like fun competitive games. Like,
I don't know. We turned a single-player game into a multiplayer game, because it was just the social aspect of it. We were all together playing a game.
That's true.
Finally, he says, also, whoever said Chippendales Rescue Rangers was bad is high. Apparently,
we'll say that was Aron again.
Yeah, that was probably Aron. His last question, I kind of want to defend, but he does have a point. He says, do you feel like retro sellouts playing on ROMs? I refuse to play anything but the original cartridge, and I'm going on 400 plus strong. Great broadcast. Keep it up. Thought for video game for discussion, A Boy and His Blob. I honestly don't feel like a sellout playing on ROMs, because I would say a vast majority of the games that we do play, I have the cartridge for or have had the cartridge for. It's just, for me, it's more convenient to emulate it and have it on the go.
Yeah, I agree. It's way more convenient. Super convenient. And if you think about, like, whenever I play N64 on my TV, it's annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the horrible graphics. So, like, yeah, no, I don't.
I don't either. Sorry.
I think if you only played on an emulator and you didn't, like, you took advantage of the free states all the time, and then yeah, you wouldn't necessarily get the entire feel of it. But if you knew how much it sucked to, like, hit the console by accident and reset the game,
yeah,
then you kind of...
When I was playing Mega Man 2 with Kev up in Canada, his system had a tendency of just power cycling, just random shut off.
Sucks.
Yeah. Plus, some of those games are so hard to find, and if you don't have the money to fork over $60 for a retro game, just emulate it. I mean,
and it might crap out on you too.
The issue that I don't take an issue with it, because if you buy a used retro game now, the company that made it is no longer getting the money for it. I know that's kind of a crappy argument, but if you still had the option to go to the store and purchase it and give your money to the developer, then say yes, purchase the games. But they're so hard to find now.
Yeah, they're not being produced, so...
I don't want to give my money to somebody who's just inflating the price because the game is hard to find.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for emails. And that's going to do it for the show.
What are we doing for next week, for this week, for Wednesday?
I feel like this week we should do the Aladdin Genesis Super Nintendo comparison.
Okay. That sounds good.
Because those games, as far as I remember, aren't very long. And I may, if I have time, give that Chippendales game a chance. We'll see.
You'll start work soon, though, so...
Back to being a contributing member of society.
Yeah. Well, we have a day off tomorrow.
So do we. President's
Why
Day.
do you guys? President's Day?
Yeah. What do you have?
Oh, we have
Queen's
Family Day.
Oh, God.
Yep.
All right. Jess, where can we find you on Twitter?
At Jess M. Clarkson.
If you want to follow Aron, which you probably should, he's at Quilted Tunic. You can find me at Honest Pizza. That's going to do it. Send your emails, suggestions, comments, concerns, criticisms, love, whatever you want to send us to factorysealed@manatank.com.
Love, I love love.
Send us
Belated Valentine's Day cards.
Yes. We'll take them. All right. We'll be back on Wednesday. If not Wednesday, definitely Thursday, because we still have to do the Manitank podcast this week. And Wednesday is the Sony press conference.
Ho, ho, ho.
All right. We will see you all then.